Hi there, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Shulamit Ber-Lev Tov, and I'm the Entrepreneur's Therapist. You could call me Shula for short. My pronouns are she, hers. This is the podcast for business owners, solopreneurs, micropreneurs, freelancers, and self-employed folks who want support for riding the emotional roller coaster of running a business. I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include the whole human founder as a business priority. I do that through this podcast, of course, and also through speaking, teaching, and consulting, and by supporting women business owners one-to-one to prevent burnout and preserve their peace of mind as they ride the emotional roller coaster of running a business in this era of relentless stressors that can make you want to lose your crap on the daily. This podcast is being recorded on lands that have been stewarded for 10,000 years and to this day by the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. Land acknowledgements are calls to action from Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this is your call to find out at least whose land you're on and to share that information with other folks and to take what other actions you can toward reconciliation, because the harms caused by settler colonialism are ongoing. Today's topic is what to do when you feel like you can't handle the entrepreneurial life anymore. So, owning and running a business is an emotional roller coaster. You have lived this. The highs are very exciting, but the lows can be so brutal. And sometimes you feel like you can't handle the stress anymore. For example, a contractor suddenly quits and now you're on the hook for their deliverables. You end up canceling everything and working 24 hours straight to get things out the door. You need a breather, but you have to turn around and go on with the next business day. Anybody felt like that or had that experience? Or you've got a day of back-to-back meetings, so you've had no time to eat. And in addition, a project is running behind and the deadline is close of business today. Wah! Panic time, right? Or you get a call from school that your kid is sick and you have to pick them up right away. And as a result, you have to cancel your day, including that important client, that important meeting with a prospective new client. You're scrambling to cover your responsibilities and respond to emails and phone calls and not really able to be present with your sick child. The stress is building up and building up and building up. You're crying at the drop of a hat. You're snapping at contractors, employees, friends, family. You're sleep deprived. You can't focus. You don't enjoy anything. It's been ages since you felt happy. And you're saying to yourself, what is wrong with me? I used to be able to handle stress. Or you might say, I can't cope with this pressure anymore. Or that's it. I'm throwing in the towel. I cannot handle life as an entrepreneur anymore. What do you do when you're in this place? What do you do when you think you can't handle life as an entrepreneur anymore? This is a hard place to be. It's hard to be looking for jobs, going through Indeed and thinking, do I want to apply for a job? Thinking about shutting down your business. This is bringing up more stress and grief. So what do you do? The very first thing is to recognize and acknowledge that you're in distress. And if this is you right now, I invite you to do this with me, to possibly place a gentle hand on your heart space, palm down, and maybe place the other hand on top. I invite you to place your awareness on your breath, and to let your breath come and go just as it is. And then maybe you might like to say to yourself, yes, something in me is in distress. Something in me is stressed out. Something in me is having a hard time. Yeah, just pausing and acknowledging that. Often when we flipped our lids due to stress, we have difficulty thinking straight. And the thoughts that tell you you can't handle running a business anymore seem persuasive. But when you've taken a moment to connect with yourself and pause, you might find that you have a little bit more emotional bandwidth and you can see these thoughts for what they are, expressions of your distress. And it's important to remember that distressed thoughts are not holistic solutions to our problems. Once you've recognized and acknowledged that this moment is emotionally intense, I strongly recommend you get support. Support matters because when emotions are high, you can't take in new information, think creatively, or solve problems. But after your emotions have received some care, you can see if there is anything you can do to address the situation that led to these thoughts, like, I can't handle this stress. I have to burn this business down. Once you've got some support for your emotions and given yourself some care, you might like to take an honest look at your situation. Like they say in the 12-step programs, conduct a searching and fearless inventory of what's happening right now. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself. How much of this is out of my control? When you're thinking, I can't handle life as an entrepreneur anymore, it can be helpful to identify what isn't in your control. And once you're aware of what's happening that isn't in your control, you can acknowledge the impact of these things. It's hard to feel helpless or powerless. There are several factors that can affect your mental health as an entrepreneur, and I've got a link in the show notes to these factors and information about them in detail, but I'll just mention them here. Isolation, VUCA, which is an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Like, for example, the financial and economic conditions that have been relentless since 2020. And I'm recording this in 2024, they're no better. So VUCA. The hustle and systems of oppression that might be having an impact on you. You might be experiencing barriers to support, both mental and emotional, as well as in your business. You might be finding that in your mind, you're linking self-worth to success. And you might find that your self-talk is bringing you down. Because if your business is struggling, you might be telling yourself, you're no good as an entrepreneur. And you may also have pre-existing mental or physical conditions that are exacerbated by the stress. So it can help to review this list and see how many of these factors are at play in your world and life today. That way, instead of thinking, I can't handle life as an entrepreneur anymore, and asking yourself, what's wrong with me? You have a more supportive option. You can say to yourself something like, no wonder I'm struggling. Look at what I have to deal with. None of this is your fault. What has this got to do with business? When you comfort yourself in your distress, your CEO self comes back online. Your brain is no longer focused on survival, immediate moment survival, but rather can look at the long-term situation, and you can do things that you need to do. You can take in and synthesize information. You can make decisions. You can focus, prioritize, and engage in problem solving and other creative business endeavors. You can engage all of your executive functioning skills you need to run a successful business. Another question to ask yourself is, how much of this is in my control? Austrian psychologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl famously wrote, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So when you're thinking, I can't handle this anymore, I can't handle feeling like this anymore, I can't handle the stress anymore, identifying where you have choice can help you feel more empowered. A major reason many people cite for being self-employed or owning their own business is freedom and flexibility. But we can find ourselves unwittingly reproducing the oppressive structures of the corporate world we left in our own business. Toxic productivity and extractive capitalism have infiltrated much of entrepreneurship. As Tara McMullen has noted, we self-employed folks can still treat ourselves as resources to be exploited for profit. It's we who profit, but it's still an exploitative relationship. And so we might profit financially, but exploit ourselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, and there's harm involved in that, right? So taking back the control and creating our own reality within our business as much as it's possible can go a long way to helping us shift out of the desperation and trapped feeling of I can't handle entrepreneurship anymore. So here are some of the things that are within our control. Our conditions of work. Sometimes urgent things take over, but in general, we get to determine our conditions of work. And keeping in mind that you have a choice about your conditions of work alleviates a lot of pressure and anxiety, and I hope it might help you. You might think about what it is that you can change around your conditions of work. You can take a look at your boundaries. We can be afraid that saying no to things like meetings and clients and all that kind of stuff, work, will mean harm to us, others, or our businesses. And when you're not used to saying it, saying no feels risky. The truth is that you've taken many, many risks in your business. And just like you've taken other risks, you can take this one and see what happens. Over-delivering, overworking, overdoing. This is something you can change in your business also. The success of your business is at its root a survival issue. So it's no wonder that you feel like you have to take all the clients and do all the things to please them. But learning to care for your anxiety without it pushing you to over-deliver, overwork, overdo can make a big difference, not only in your mental health, but also in your capacity to keep going in times of stress in your business. Self-talk is something over which you have control as well. When something goes wrong, in quotation marks, we have a tendency to berate and criticize ourselves, but this self-criticism is harmful. In many cases, it can lead to depression, anxiety and social anxiety, and even a sense of worthlessness. Being kind to yourself reduces your distress and helps you be able to gather your capacity to think creatively, solve problems, and run your business successfully. And your mindset is also to some degree within your control, right? You can have an impact on that. When you're under a great deal of stress, negative thinking can overtake you. And when we're talking about mindset, toxic positivity can be a risk here. And so I've put a link in the show notes to my post about toxic positivity that you can take a peek at so that you can get a context for this. When you're working with your mindset in times of stress, the point is not to squelch your fears with positive thinking, but to train your mind to see both the negative and the positive. And there are two practices that can help you with this, and I've linked them in the show notes. One is called taking in the good, and the other is a gratitude practice. So be sure to look into the gratitude practice that I've linked in the show notes, because it isn't the kind of gratitude that you think it is, or rather to say, the kind of gratitude practice that helps you when you're under stress and helps your mental health is not the kind of gratitude you think it is. Support is something that's within your control. The biggest challenge facing entrepreneurs and business owners is having to go it alone. Simply being alone is enough to evoke an intensified stress response, making it hard for you to function at your best. And this is why support is key. You're already strong, and you're even stronger with support. With support, your distress is alleviated. You have a sense that you're not alone, that somebody's with you in your distress. Your CEO self, so to speak, your executive functioning you have more of your mind's energy to direct toward things, and you can do what you need to do, like take in and synthesize information, make decisions, focus, prioritize, engage in problem solving, and other kinds of creative business endeavors, all the things you need to do to run a successful business. I hope that these tips have been helpful to you. I hope that it's beneficial for you to think about, it's normal to feel stressed, and it's normal to be in distress. It's normal to feel stress as an entrepreneur, and it's normal to be in distress when the pressures are high. And to support yourself by taking a moment to say, yeah, of course I'm stressed out. These things are really, really hard. This podcast is brought to you by my self-guided virtual retreat. You can create your customized mental and emotional wellness plan for yourself as a business owner to keep your CEO self in the driver's seat so you don't flip your lid and blow up your business when the crap hits the fan. As you know, running a business can run down your mental health, and so can moments of high stress. The proactive solution to this is to have a plan ahead of time that's in place so that it's available for you when the crap hits the fan. Like at times when you're thinking to yourself, I just can't handle life as an entrepreneur anymore. As whole humans who own small businesses, a mental health plan should be part of our business strategy. You can boost your business and your mental health with a mental health plan for you as a founder or business owner. You can purchase the self-guided mental health plan virtual retreat workshop today. It's $99 US, and it includes the workshop recording, an enhanced transcript, and worksheets. The link is in the description. I'm the entrepreneur. It's also at entrepreneurstherapist.click/MH-plan. So I'm the entrepreneur's therapist, and I'm on a mission to mitigate the entrepreneurial mental health crisis and transform the entrepreneurial ecosystem to include the whole human in business. That means you. If you've gotten something valuable from this episode, you can support this mission of mitigating the entrepreneurial mental health crisis by sharing with friends and colleagues. You need to hear this. Subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast also helps mitigate this entrepreneurial mental health crisis by making it possible for this podcast to reach more stressed out entrepreneurs who need support, validation, and tools to help them care for their mental and emotional well-being in an era of relentless stressors that can make you want to lose your crap on the daily. Thanks for listening. I look forward to connecting with you next time.